welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a very long time since I've done a proper upload to the channel. I have been quite busy with work and marking and getting the last bits of the research and some papers out. So, as you guys know, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl have been released. I have been looking forward to this for quite some time. And I thought I'd give you my first thoughts and my first impression of the game. Now, I have played about maybe 10-ish hours. I'm past the third gym leader. And I thought I'd just give a little bit of an overview of what I thought so far. Now, when this was first announced, and I remember that, some of the gameplay footage that they had shown at that time that Nintendo was showing at their Nintendo Presents or Nintendo Directs or whatever they call them. Some of the graphics and the figures and the animations and the design that they had chosen for this remake was, a little bit suspect. People were concerned and worried and thought it was glitchy and slow frame rates and etc. And I was with them. I was quite concerned about some of those. However, here we are at launch. So this is one day after launch. I can say that I have very little concerns. Most of the things that have happened that I was worried about have been fixed. Things look really, really nice. So a part of this overview, I thought we'd break it up into several sections. The first, of course, is the graphics. This is a remake of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, so all those that had played it originally, this is a remake from there. The graphics obviously are much better than they were back then, and I like the art style that they've chosen for this. This art style that they've chosen, where your character kind of looks sort of like squished with a bigger head, reminds me of the time with the Game Boy Advance game. So if you remember, for example, playing the original Pokemon Sapphire or Emerald, or even Fire Red and Leaf Green, having your character kind of look like that, it's sort of reminiscent of that. And actually, I don't mind it. The graphics of the scenery, the way they've redone the towns is breathtaking. They're very pretty. Absolutely beautiful scenery. Even when you're battling, like they've done in previous Pokemon entries, they have the battle background sort of reminiscent of where you are. So if you're in a city, it's sort of a cityscape. If you're out in the wild, it's more like mountains and trees, and it's very nice. It's very nice to see those beautifully sculpted, architectured, if you will, landscapes that they've done. In terms of the Pokemon graphics, they're I would say the same quality of what you found in Pokemon Sword and Shield. I don't really notice a difference from there, but generally speaking, the Pokemon look great. Like, I think, we're coming to a point now where we're pretty good with how they look. It's more about their animations and so on that we're now trying to get them to fix. And generally speaking, the animations look decently well here. The Pokemon, when they're waiting for your commands in battle, will do certain movements that are unique to that species. It's quite cool to see that, and I do like that. But yeah, so graphics wise, it's a pretty good, beautiful game in terms of its graphics. In terms of story, now as I'm saying this as a caveat, of course, this is only 10 hours in, so I haven't gotten to the end or anything. From what I can tell, the story is on par from what you found in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, the original, with some spins in there with I think a little bit of platinum in there as well, possibly. So I'm pretty happy so far. It's pretty faithful, and they did say that it was a very faithful remake, and I have to say that it seems to be true, and so that's pretty good. For me at least. I know for people who have never experienced the original Diamond and Pearl, this might be a very, very fun story for you. I know for my wife, who has never played the original games, really likes the story. She thinks Team Plasma is really funny. She first thing was like, what are they? Are they from outer space? Are they aliens? Like there's all this sort of mystery and intrigue that she was thinking about. And it's kind of nice to see that because I get that other perspective of someone who's never played the games before, what they might be sort of thinking. And so she's quite enthralled by it, which is really, really nice. But I guess for the most important part, though, for a Pokemon game, it's not necessarily the graphics per se, and it's not necessarily the stories that really drive us. It's the gameplay. And I have to say that the gameplay is pretty good. It's on par with any other Pokemon game. You're out there catching Pokemon, got to catch them all. You're exploring. And again, what I really like about the Sinnoh region is it's just perfect for exploring. There's little hidden items, and there's lots of places to climb and come back later and collect certain items that you missed before. And I absolutely love that aspect of the game, and it certainly rewards exploration. And I really miss that in some Pokemon games. I found that the recent iterations were more streamlined and not as many sort of well-hidden items and things, but it's nice to see that here again. Again, a lot of quality of life updates. They got rid of the whole HMs, so you don't have to have HM slaves anymore, which is great. So you can go out and use those Pokemon that you normally would use for all those HMs, potentially for a party member. And some of them aren't too bad, actually, as party members. One of the greatest things that I find now is that they're using wild Pokemon. So you call wild Pokemon, and they'll do those sort of HM type jobs, which is great. I think it's fantastic. I like that. I really like, again, catching all the different Pokemon. They've done a really good job with that. A pretty good Pokedex and a good Pokemon roster, I would say. From what I can see so far, it looks like it was the Platinum Dex, maybe with a couple extras in here and there. So I'm overall pretty happy with it. The other thing with the gameplay is that once in a while, I have encountered frame rate drops. It's for this type of game, it doesn't really matter if there's a few frames dropping here or there. It's not like like a shooter where you need each frame is very important in terms of getting a good shot and so on. In here, it's not so much a problem, but it is noticeable. So there was many times where a trainer battle had an encountered, and that you could see when they were releasing their Pokemon, there was like some stuttering. And so I don't know if it's the game itself or my system. I don't know. But I did notice that a couple of times. Another really, really fun aspect to the gameplay is the underground, right? The Grand Underground. So in the original games, you had this underground system where you could go through under Sinnoh and unearth fossils and gems and evolutionary stones and so on. It was quite fun. I didn't dabble too much of it back then. I played for the first time all the way through. That's the key, all the way through this year. It was on my games to beat. And again, even then, I didn't dabble too much into that. But in this, they've made it fun. And they made it fun by not only updating the Grand Underground, but having like dens where you can go in and see a bunch of wild Pokemon, some very rare. And so it's kind of combining the wild areas of Sword and Shield in a more concentrated, condensed format here. And you know what? I'm going to say that I prefer it. Because in the wild area on Sword and Shield, you had pop-ins and all kinds of things. There's just so many Pokemon on screen, and they're all visually walking around and doing their things. And that was very taxing on the Switch. Where here, because they're already, once you leave the den and come back, and there's a whole bunch of the Pokemon just spawn, they're just there. And there's less of them, obviously, so they don't have that problem with pop-in and stuttering and so on. It was quite good, and I'm quite enjoying it. And what's nice is that you can go in and out of these sort of like den areas, if you will, and get different Pokemon at times, and rare Pokemon as well. It's quite fun. I'm really enjoying that aspect. So yeah, overall gameplay is really fun. It's challenging, like it should be. I mean, obviously they've updated things, so you have certain evolutions that you may not have had before in Diamond and Pearl, and you also have the fairy typing, which is quite useful now with this. I'm very interested to see how Cynthia does and how challenging she is. But what was fun is my wife, who really, really liked Sword and Shield. She found it relatively easy. Like, she never had a problem with any of the gym leaders. She actually did not beat the first gym leader on the first try. And she was blown back by this. Like, she was shocked because it was a little more challenging. They had more than one potion. They actually used strategy. A good example is, of course, in the third gym, which is a fighting gym type. They were using, knowing that I had put up special attackers, psychics are very strong against fighting Pokemon. They had a Pokemon that could know reflect, so it reduces the damage output by that. And that's very strategic. So my wife was finding it a little more different, and they had things like stealth rocks. They were setting up stealth rocks and things. Like, she thinks that is just absolutely fantastic, and that makes it just that little bit more challenging. Now, for more seasoned players like myself, I haven't had a problem with the gyms, in part because I know what to expect, of course, with them. But it still is challenging. I have, certain. I've never lost, but I've had party members faint at the gym facing the gym leader, right? Certain RNG things happen, or they just did something that surprised me, even to this day, and I find that great. So gameplay-wise, it's really good. It's a good difficulty, I think. I'm really enjoying the gameplay, and like I said, I've been over 10 hours now. There's a couple of things that I'm a little upset about with this, and I think people should be aware of. Now again, I think some of this was already announced prior to the games coming out, but I like to go in with being as blind as possible to all this and spoiler-free as possible. And so in terms of when you play the game, it doesn't connect to Pokemon Home. And that's interesting because you have Sword and Shield, they did that. You have Pokemon, the Let's Go series are a part of it. They even have all of the 3DS, like Pokemon Bank connects. And my assumption, and I don't know why I had this assumption, but to me it just seemed logical, that you would release the game so that it could automatically connect to that service, to Pokemon Home. Because in previous iterations on the 3DS, once Pokemon Bank was established, when the Pokemon games were released, they immediately could be transferred. You could transfer Pokemon or whatever. And my reasoning is because one of my team members that I wanted to have was, I wanted Magmortar on my team, and I happened to had a Magby that was like level 8 in Pokemon Home, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just transfer it over, like after I am allowed to, I could just transfer it over. And I tried, and I realized it wasn't recognized, and I was searching the web, what's going on, what's happening, is something wrong? And I realized that you just can't do that. Another thing that I noticed is there's no wonder trade or surprise trade or whatever they're going to call it, which again was a surprising thing for me, because sometimes it's fun just to put Pokemon out, especially if you're doing breeding, and see what you get, or if you want to do a Wonder Loki or something. So I was a little bit surprised with that. All they have is trading with somebody over the internet or with somebody in and around the area who has your friendship code or whatever you're going to give. I haven't traded yet. I actually have a Haunter, and through the gameplay footage you might see some of my team. So I do have a Haunter, and I want to get a Gengar. So I'm going to be trading that with my wife. But anyways, I'm playing, just so people know, I'm playing Pokemon Diamond, and my wife is playing Pokemon Pearl. So it's quite enjoyable. I'm definitely enjoying my time. But with those little caveats, I say this is a really good game. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. It's really, really good at the moment, at the start of release. Once they fix some of those things, allow you to have some of those changes with Pokemon Bank, or sorry, Pokemon Home, and allowing Wonder Trades, and maybe some of the frame rate issues here and there, I'd give it a 9 if they fix that. It's a really solid entry. I'm really enjoying my time with it. And you know what? It might even become one of my top favorite Pokemon games because of this. So this is quite fun. At the end, once I finish, I'll share my final thoughts plus my Pokemon team that I chose for this run through. And with all of that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you go out and play Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. They are really good games, especially if you've never played them before. So with that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.